Right then, pull up a chair, grab a pint, or a cup of tea if you're feeling proper, because today's tale is dripping in scandal, satin, and shoulder straps. We're diving headfirst into the velvet-draped salons of Belle Époque Paris to meet a woman who became infamous not for what she said or did, but for how she stood still. That's right, this episode is about the one, the only, the original strap-dropping icon, Virginie Amélie Avegno Gautreau, better known to the scandalized masses as Madame X in Paris, late 19th century. A time when corsets were tight, reputations were tighter, and God help you if your dress strap decided to wander. Into this glittering yet gossip-ridden world walks Virginie Amélie Avegno Gautreau, a New Orleans-born stunner with cheekbones that could slice through glass and a gaze that whispered, "Yes, I know I'm fabulous." She was elegance incarnate, a fashion-forward socialite who swanned through Parisian high society like she owned the place. But all it took was one bloody portrait, a single shoulder strap gone rogue, for her social standing to unravel faster than a cheap hemline. Let's unpack the rise, fall, and long shadow cast by the woman behind one of art's most controversial canvases. Virginie Amélie Avegno was born in 1859 in New Orleans, back when hoop skirts were still a thing, and the South was, well, on fire. After the Civil War claimed her father and the family fortunes took a dip, she and her mother hightailed it to France. There, little Virginie grew into one of the most dazzling debutantes this side of the Atlantic. By 1879, she'd married Pierre Gautreau, a banker with money, manners, and no clue what was coming. Virginie didn't settle into domestic obscurity. She bloomed into the Parisian social scene like a particularly photogenic orchid. Pale-skinned, with a little chemical help, let's be honest. Red-haired, and always impeccably dressed. She wasn't just a woman. She was a walking fashion statement, a couture comet blazing through soirées and art salons. By the way, get this, Gautreau reportedly enhanced her already pale skin with lavender powder and even a touch of arsenic. Yep, arsenic, because nothing says ravishing beauty like flirting with death in the name of aesthetics. Cue John Singer Sargent, an American portrait artist trying to make it big in Paris. The lad was a genius with a brush and had a thing for painting society's elite. So naturally, when he spotted Gautreau, he thought, that one. I want that one on my canvas. But not just any portrait. No, Sargent wanted to create the portrait, the one that would launch his career into the stratosphere. Virginie agreed, perhaps flattered, perhaps bored, and thus began a year-long drama of sketching, posing, and arguing about how seductive was too seductive. The result, a masterpiece, or a social grenade, depending on your perspective. At the 1884 Salon, Sargent unveiled portrait of Madame X. She stood tall, pale as moonlight, one strap teasingly off her shoulder, looking like she'd just conquered Paris and was about to steal your husband. Paris lost its collective mind. Critics clutched their pearls. Socialites turned up their powdered noses. The scandal was immediate and brutal. Sargent had to pack up and flee to London. Gautreau, she was turned into a cautionary tale. One strap, that's all it took. Imagine it, the Salon, 1884. Cravats adjusted, monocles polished, champagne flutes clinking. A hush falls as Madame X is unveiled. Gasps ripple through the crowd like someone's just screamed, "Free wine." Random gentleman, "Mon Dieu, that strap is practically off. What next? Ankles!" Society matron, "She may as well be naked. Think of the children." Sargent, sweating profusely, "It's called art, Karen." Let's indulge a little alt history, shall we? What if that strap hadn't slipped? What if Sargent had kept it tame, painted Madame X like a demure matron sipping tea instead of a vampish goddess with a scandalous neckline? Would Virginie have remained the toast of Paris? Would Sargent still have ended up in London with a bruised reputation? Possibly. But let's be honest. Without the scandal, would anyone still be talking about this painting 140 years later? Sometimes the drama makes the legend. Let's peel back the layers, shall we? Gautreau wasn't just a pretty face ruined by a portrait. She was a strategic social player navigating a minefield of expectations. She cultivated her beauty like a brand. She made herself a spectacle on purpose. She just didn't expect to be punished for it. So here's the ethical rub, moral clarity. Gautreau didn't hurt anyone. She was owning her image in a world that barely let women own property. Purpose-driven? You bet. She used beauty like a weapon. If men could wield power through politics or money, she wielded influence with her face. And maybe a well-timed turn of the shoulder. Hypocrisy? Not from her, but from society. Absolutely. They loved to watch her shine, until she shone too brightly. After the scandal, Gautreau faded from the spotlight. She didn't vanish completely, but her days of dominating gossip columns and Salon guest lists were over. The portrait was eventually bought by the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York, where it became an icon, long after it torched reputations in Paris. She lived until 1915, still elegant, still mysterious, still very much Madame X. Her story lives on, not because she made speeches or led movements, but because she stood still and let a painter immortalise a moment society wasn't ready for. Today, Madame X is studied not as a scandal, but as a symbol of femininity, of control, of a woman refusing to play nice just because the world told her to. Modern takes, books like Strapless or I Am Madame X, explore Gautreau's life as more than a scandalous socialite. They see her as a prototype of modern celebrity, a woman caught between admiration and condemnation, wielding her own image before Instagram was even a twinkle in history's eye. So what did we learn? That the drop of a strap can shake a city, that a portrait can turn into a battleground. That beauty, when weaponized, can be both armor and curse. Virginie Amélie Avegno Gautreau was many things. A Creole transplant, a socialite, a muse, a scandal, a symbol. But most of all, she was a woman navigating a world that wanted her seen, but not heard, admired, but not too admired. And in the end, she said more with a tilt of the head and a flash of bare shoulder than most of her critics could in volumes. Stay curious, stay sharp, and stay just sober enough to remember it all. This was just a swig of history, and if it wasn't in your textbook, it bloody well should have been. And before you go, do a brother fav and like, share and subscribe.